rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Perspective. Excuse me. Anyway, wow. There's a big announcement. Huge announcement that I'm going to tell you about in just a minute. Just a huge announcement. Also, I have some information as to why the Democrats, or at least further evidence of why the Democrats don't want to save America. And by save, I mean the Safe something Voting Eligibility Act or whatever it is. Anyway, also got a couple meltdowns, one on CNN and a couple others for you as well. But first, let's go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance is by our heavenly brother, Buddy Weiser, passed last September. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Buddy as he recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I hereby pledge my allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which she stands, one nation under one God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all her citizens. So help me God.
And, of course, thank you, Buddy, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email, if you can. And then address that email, send it off to me, send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. Also, if you do it on your phone, by the way, you can use the share option. That's S-H-A-R-E, share option. And send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online as well. If you create a file that's a little too big to email, you can also utilize things like Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, and just provide the link, and I'll go and download it for you. Download it from your connection, and there you go. And bring it in appropriately, as it should be. All right. Let's get on to tonight's headline sponsor, which is the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution is established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one singular mission, and that is to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education from a biblical worldview. And keep in mind, that all started with the Declaration of Independence that outline the following three key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. Now, the Institute on the Constitution likes the number 3 because they give you a 3-step plan in terms of how to restore the republic. You want to check it out, go to theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com. and you'll be able to check it out. The first step, obviously, is to pray. That's right, pray. Never forget to pray for your country, ever, because let's face it, we need all the prayer and help that we can get in order to save this country. Second thing is to study. They have 4 separate courses that are core to their mission, and you can start the first one for free. It's 100% free. All you got to do is head on over and click on their U.S. Constitution course. There's the form to sign up right there. You just go to theamericanview.com, click on study, go to U.S. Constitution course, and there it is right there. There's your form. All you got to do is put in your first name, last name, and an email address, and they will email you each week the 12 lessons that make up this 100% free online course about the U.S. Constitution. The lessons are about 15 to 20 minutes long. Really not all that hard to do, but they send it to you, directly to you, and you can study at your own pace. Then after that, go and attend an instructor-led course. There are instructor-led courses all over, and these are just the upcoming ones that are they got one in Missouri, they've got South Carolina, they've got Seaford, Delaware, Newark, Delaware, Lewes, Delaware. Those are all coming up. In fact, the one in Newark is already done. It's already over with, but they're going to be adding more each day. They keep adding more and more and more. Look at this. They've got Ridgely, Maryland, Ontario Convention Center in California. You got one in Texas. They're all over. Plus, the third item, after you go through all of their 4 courses, the third item is the ACT item. You need to act. You pray, you study, then you act. And when you act, you can become an instructor for them, and you can hold classes in your hometown and explore them. Nationally certified instructors, you can do that. Become an instructor. It's really not that difficult to become part of the grassroots education mission for the Institute on the Constitution. You pick up their instructor kit. They help you out. They give you all kinds of tips. They've got tips for a successful class right here. Got how to become an IOTC instructor. They outline the entire thing. Go and check it out. Go to theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com. And while you are there, you can also check out their shop. And in the shop, there is this place that I personally love called the Legacy Library. See, it's right here above my head. Whoops, right there above my head in the corner. You go and check out the Legacy Library. Man, they got some neat stuff in there, but one of the neatest things that they have as a part of that is this right here, the Constitution of the United States, fully wrapped in a Saddleback, a leather-bound format. Check this out. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. These are stitched. This is stitched all the way through, the leather and the pages that are contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if there is a problem, you can send it back to the manufacturer and they will either fix it or replace it for free. Each purchase, this is according to my Whiskey Warrior 3 Chevy, each purchase of the Saddleback leather book with the aforementioned rounded corners, there they are, and they are sexy, will cause a liberal to have socially unacceptable digestive dysfunctions. And according to my other Whiskey Warrior G, the stitching is capable of mending the wounds of all the gangs in West Side Story. Yeah, if you don't see West Side Story, you wouldn't get it. Anyway, head on over to theamericanview.com and check out their Legacy Library along with all of their other books and information. They got a fantastic set. I got to tell you, I'm actually looking at this wonderful wall hanging that apparently, I'm looking at all of these. I got the leather. You got the leather U.S. Constitution. You've got the leather. Let's see, what else are there? These leather wall hangings are just fantastic. Oh my gosh, they would be just so fantastic here. They get the leather Bill of Rights, the leather Magna Carta, and the leather Declaration of Independence. All of them in leather, and you can go and pick those up as well. Go and check it out at theamericanview.com. That's theamericanview.com. And that is the Institute on the Constitution. And I thank them for being a sponsor of the show. All right. Huge announcement. Absolutely huge. In fact, it was so big that I don't think there was a single mainstream media outlet or any other outlet that covered it, because it was just so big. It was from none other than our old word salad presidential candidate, the former VP of the United States, Kamala Harris. That's right. There was this big thing. Apparently her X account, posted some tease of this thing. I don't know what it was. I really don't. And apparently it was so big. It was such a major announcement, so huge, that, a lot of people were basically sitting here and going, oh my gosh, is she announcing for a run of 2028? Is she announcing early? Is she doing a presidential announcement? Or better yet, is she announcing she's getting into the governorship for California, the race for governor? Is she announcing all of this? Or better yet, is she unburdened by what has been in a revenge tour? Yeah, no. None of that. Apparently, she changed the name of Kamala HQ, her website, or her account, or whatever. I don't know, some social media presence that she used as Kamala HQ. She's now changed the name. Yes, listen to this. This is a huge announcement. She rebranded her social media handle. That's it. It went from Kamala HQ to headquarters 67. Headquarters _ 67. Oh my gosh, I've already wasted enough time on this. I cannot believe this. That's what she did. Is she just basically announced it. That's it. And by the way, that account reportedly has been inactive since election day. Yeah. By the way, she produced a video for the damn thing, too. Take a look at this. Yeah, I'm not going to play the video because I really don't want to do anything. But yeah, there it is. There it is, HQ. Welcome to headquarters, the new Gen Z-led progressive content hub. There you go. There it is. Oh my God, I can't even. I'm sorry, I just can't. And these people think, there's still leftists out there who are saying that, oh my gosh, she would have been such a good president. She would have been so much better than Donald Trump ever could be. Yeah, okay, she's an idiot. She's a complete moron. Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, and by the way, they apparently have, when you click the link in the bio, the new Headquarters 67 page currently redirects you, I should say, to an empty Substack that is marked coming soon. There's nothing. And apparently Harris produced the video where she's like, I'm really excited about it. I'm sure that you're really excited about being unburdened by what has been. and what will never come forth. I have no idea what to do. Oh, yeah, the build-up. Now, this is just crazy. I don't even... You know what? I've wasted enough time on this crap. Yeah. Anyway, that was a big announcement. Oh, my God. So big. All right, well, let's move on. So, Republicans are finally getting some balls, I guess. And they have decided that they are demanding now the inclusion of the SAVE Act as a part of that DHS funding bill that the Democrats and Chuck Schumer in particular fought to get peeled off for the partial funding. Now, DHS, apparently this bill has to pass by the 13th, so sometime next week. Yeah, both parties, by the way, are kind of digging in. The Democrats don't want this. Now, for those of you that don't know what the SAVE Act is, the SAVE Act is the Safeguarding American Voter Eligibility Act. It's been passed a couple times already. It's been reintroduced by Chip Roy and the other sponsor. I only know Chip Roy right off the top of my head. But anyway, Trump's expressed support for it. Everybody wants it. It's really plainly simple. And this is the thing that really kicks me in the pants. This is so easy. This is like a complete non-starter here, folks. I mean, complete non-starter. And I just got to tell you, all it has to deal with is just verify that the person who is voting is the one who is the voter, and that they are that they are an actual American citizen in order to be able to vote in federal elections. That's pretty much it. Now, the thing about it is with this whole thing is that this is an 80-20 policy. I mean, you seem to recall here, and let me just play it again, because apparently the Democrats aren't listening here with regards to this whole thing, but even Harry Enton can tell you about it.
So voter ID, just so people understand, is the idea that someone shows a photo ID when they go to vote, when they go to cast their actual ballot, because there's a separate discussion right now about needing a passport or a birth certificate to register to vote, but the polling is all on voter ID showing an ID to vote.
Showing a photo ID to vote, and the American people are with Nicki Minaj, because what are we talking about here? So take a look here, favor voter ID to vote. Look, I got all this polling on the screen going back since 2018. You'll notice on all of it, it's all north of 75%, 76%, 76%, 76%, 81%, and then 83% in the last year of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj. They favor photo ID to be able to vote.
What about by party? What's the party breakdown?
Yeah, normally you might expect, hey, there'd be a big divide by party with Republicans really for it and Democrats really against it. But not really here. I mean, just take a look here. Favor photo ID to vote. You got 95% of Republicans, pretty much all of them, but even 71% of Democrats favor photo ID to vote. So again, Nicki Minaj posting that on X, and what you see is that the American people, actually, it's not really all that controversial. The American people are with Nicki Minaj, whether they are Republican or even if they are Democrats. We're talking about 7 in 10 Democrats agreeing with Nicki Minaj that you, in fact, should show a voter photo ID to vote.
What's the racial breakdown?
Okay, what's the racial breakdown on this, right? Because I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here, favor photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it. 82% of Latino, 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So, what the heck happened here? I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on here. What happened? My video went out. Go. There we go. I don't know what happened, but anyway, so yeah, there you go. I mean, it's pretty even across the board. Let's be honest. It's pretty even across the board. Everybody all pretty much agrees that we should be doing this. Except the Democrats in Congress. Yeah. Democrats in Congress, they don't believe in this. And the biggest, well, right now anyway, the biggest guy who is fighting against it in the Senate is none other than Chucky Boy Schumer. Well, Chuck showed up on a show on MS Now. And the MS Now, this is the Morning Schmo show. I mean, I'm sorry, Morning Joe show, but the Morning Schmo show. Well, the guy doing the interview, he kind of sort of asked Chucky about this. Here we go.
There's a new Pew Research poll that 95% of Republicans, but also 71% of Democrats like this idea. So why do you not?
It's Jim Crow 2.0. And I called it Jim Crow 2.0, and the right wing went nuts all over the internet. That's because they know it's true. What they're trying to do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting. For instance, if you change, you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, you won't be able to show ID and you'll be discriminated against. If you can't find a birth certificate or a proper ID, you'll be discriminated against. This is vicious and nasty. And I said to our Republican colleagues, it will not pass the Senate. You will not get a single Democratic vote in the Senate. We're not reviving Jim Crow all over the country. And when the American people hear what exactly it is doing and what its intent is doing, they're going to be against it as well.
Okay. So let's drop some truth bombs on good old Chucky Boy. Alrighty, Chuck, here we go. Here is it. Number one. Jim Crow was put in by Democrats to keep blacks from voting. That's right. It was put in by Democrats to keep blacks from voting. There were things such as poll taxes. There were things such as educational tests, so on and so forth, in an attempt to try and keep the just freed, fairly newly freed slaves from voting and changing everything. Now, all of that is what Chuck is trying to say that the Republicans are doing. Except there's only one problem. And I'll get to that here in just a second, because you need to understand Chuck is also calling out this idea that, hey, if a person who just got married and changed their name, they won't be allowed to vote. Well, that is a bunch of bullshit, too. Because the fact of the matter is, Chuck, in the SAVE Act, which I have read, there is a clear carve-out for those types of situations that basically explains all you have to do is prove what your maiden name was prior to your married name, which you can do off of a marriage certificate and your old birth certificate, and boom, you're already in. You're taken care of. Okay, let's get back to this Jim Crow thing, okay? Here's where this guy is completely off base with all of this, all right? First of all, you need to understand he is specifically pointing out Jim Crow, which again, like I just said, was directed directly at the freed black slaves in the South. Now, this is the soft bigotry of low expectations that the Democrats have always had with regards to the black Americans that we have. Because of the fact that every single, when you talk to, I mean, you've seen it, I've seen it, the videos where they go out and they interview white affluent Americans, mostly college kids, who talk about voter ID and everything, and they're all like, well, you know, black people, they don't know how to get voter ID. People of color, they don't know how to get voter ID. Folks, do you realize that you need an ID to buy alcohol? You need an ID to buy cough medicine. You need an ID. Nowadays, you need a real ID, which, by the way, validates your birth certificate, or realistically validates your date of birth, which 99.9% of the time is your birth certificate. It validates that in order for you to even get an ID to fly. So there's all of these, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's like a list somewhere that I saw that has like 50 different things that you need an ID for. And these dumbasses here, these idiots like Chucky Schumer, they all think that nobody has an ID to be able to do any of these things. This is nuts. This is crazy. This is crazy. He is a complete utter moron, and I'm sorry, but no, I'm not sorry. He's an idiot. So are all the other Democrats who sit there and think that, oh, people of color, well, you know, they don't have ID. How do you get around? You can't open a bank account. You can't cash a check. You can't. I mean, there's just so many different things that you cannot do without an ID. And yet, for whatever reason, Chucky Boy and the rest of his clown show, they seem to think that this voter ID thing is something that is, oh my God, we can't do this. We can't do this. Well, Chuck and the rest of the Democrats, because remember how I told you that the SAVE Act is now going to be voted on next week. It's scheduled to be voted on next week in the House, tied to the DHS funding bill. Okay? So, here's the thing. The Democrats finally put out their demands for the DHS funding. They finally put out in a memo, well, in a letter, okay? They sent a letter and they laid out 10 claims, all right? 10 claims of things that they want done when it comes to the sorry, I was trying to get a large representation of this, but they sent out 10 things that they wanted in order to be able to pass the DHS funding, because again, keep in mind, they want to revamp the DHS. Their term for revamp actually means they want to destroy DHS so that immigration enforcement can't be done. All right? Well, they've officially announced the following items, and these are the major ones, but they've initially announced the following items. First, they want to end the use of what's known as probable cause administrative warrants, and instead they want to require officers to seek judicial warrants in order to conduct operations. Now, here's the difference. A administrative warrant is basically, oh yes, this person has stayed here past their visa expiration date. They haven't reapplied. We'll go get them and deport them. Whereas a judicial warrant is what is used, especially in criminal cases, where you have an officer go up and in front of the judge say, you know, I solemnly swear that all of what I'm saying in this warrant is true. The judicial warrants also have to deal with things like searches and seizures in the regular in our regular constitutional republic pathway. And what ends up happening here is that because of the fact that you are asking for judicial warrants, it basically would slow deportations to a almost complete stop. Okay? A almost complete stop because of the backlog that it would create. Now, there's already a backlog with the administrative warrants. That's why getting rid of these people is taking so long, because we have a lot of paperwork that has to go along with it. And yet they, meaning the Democrats, they want and they are demanding that federal agents are going to be handicapped by having to go get and seek judicial warrants in regards to this. Now, ironically, two of the Democrats' demands have to deal with identification. One of them is that ICE agents have to demask. Period. The other one is that they have to display their names on their uniforms. So in other words, they have to identify themselves individually, not just as, hey, I'm a law enforcement officer. They have to identify themselves individually. Now, it's kind of interesting that the Democrats are fighting against using ID to vote. They haven't been against using an ID for any of the other things that I've been telling you about, but they are against using an ID to vote, but yet they want these ICE officers who's been doxxed and had threats and everything else to basically, yeah, you got to be identified. Democrats are also seeking, and this is the key point. This is the key point. And this is what ties into the SAVE Act. Democrats are actually seeking to restrict ICE and Border Patrol and any DHS officers from conducting operations at what they call sensitive locations. For an example, medical facilities, schools, child care facilities, and churches. They also added to that list, and here's the key, one being the court system, because what's been happening with these illegals is they go into court, they appear in court, and the ICE agents wait for that person to come out of court, and they arrest them right there, because the Democrat sycophantic, idiotic judges who are more activists than judges, like Hannah Duggan, they go and release these idiots, release these illegal aliens who have been arrested on other crimes, and they release them and let them walk out the door at courts. Now, the last place that is listed that is a key location for this is polling places. Now, let that sink in for just a second. The Democrats are basically telling you that they don't want ICE to be at polling places. Why would an illegal immigrant, well, illegal alien, be at a polling place? What would be their purpose? See, let me tie this together for you. They don't want voter ID because they want illegal aliens to be able to walk up and purport themselves to be somebody that they're not and vote. As we have seen, and I've talked on this program, that there are aliens who are voting. Now, keep in mind there are states like California who allow illegal aliens to vote in local elections. But they can't vote in federal ones. Now, that being said, let's tie this together. So they don't want voter ID because that would, of course, stop the illegals from voting, which the Democrats say is not happening anyway, even though it is. You know, one of those things where, oh, well, that's not happening, but it's good that it is. Yeah. And now they want ICE to not be at polling places because that's considered a sensitive area. Oh, why would it be a sensitive area if illegals are not voting? So you're basically telling me that, yeah, it is happening. I'm sorry. I'm just, I'm using actual real logic here to kind of figure that out. And by the way, Virginia Democrats have already announced and advanced the legislation that they are ensuring that voting booths are essentially sanctuary spaces for illegals. So don't sit here and tell me that this isn't a common theme across the entire Democrat Party. Because again, I mean, what the hell? What the hell? What point would all of this be? Oh, yeah, we don't want ICE to show up at our polling places. Illegals can't vote anyway. They can't vote in our elections. I mean, I don't know. Realistically, you have to be a complete, I've been trying to avoid using this, but you've got to be a complete.
You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. You're grade A, number one, bona fide first class. You're a dumbass. You're a dumbass. And you'll be one all your dumbass life.
You got to be a real complete dumbass to not see what the Democrats are doing here. I mean, they are literally just laying it all out for us. They're essentially telling us 100%. They want illegal aliens to vote. They don't think that illegal aliens should not vote in our system. That's what it is. That's what it is. So, yeah. Again, another one of their demands is a requirement to stop racial profiling, which they obviously have forgotten that the vast majority of ICE agents are actually Hispanic people of color. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. They also want to end the practices of officers targeting jobs and locations that are known to be used by a high number of illegals. You know, kind of like going to the Home Depot where all of those people hang out to get paid cash by the day. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Oh my gosh, these are just so crazy. These are so crazy. And they think that this is going to be, you know, a bit of a big thing. I don't know how well this is going to go over. I think we're going to be heading into another shutdown of these, at least of DHS folks. But anyway, another demand that they have, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is redonkulous completely. The Democrats are also saying that they want to require federal agents to seek consent from state and local officials before conducting mass operations in their cities and states. There's this little thing known as the Constitution, and there's this little thing known as the Supremacy Clause that basically states that federal law trumps state law. So there's no reason why the federal law enforcement would have to gain permission for this. Yeah, no. They also want to open up a pipeline and basically open up the ability to sue Homeland Security for any of their perceived violations of detention standards. which that's like wide open. And by the way, they want Congress to be able to conduct visits to any facility that they desire without any kind of limitation whatsoever. Now, as a part of their list, they also are seeking body cams for all officers. Now, that was something the Trump administration is already working on. Including in that demand is the prohibition of creating a database on individuals who are participating in First Amendment activities. That's very vague. In other words, they want to be able to prohibit the DHS from, listing all the protesters that have gotten violent in the riots, but yet haven't been charged. Yeah. And finally, they want the Democrats want ICE to standardize on uniforms that are not paramilitary in nature and style, and use equipment that is more in line with civilian law enforcement. Basically, what they're doing is they're attempting to disarm federal agents in terms of doing all of this. That's what they're looking for. So, yeah. Oh, and let's say the last one here, which this one, I don't know what the hell this is going to do. But the last one is that they want Donald Trump to immediately remove Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem from office as a quote-unquote gesture of good faith. Yeah. I don't see Donald Trump doing that. Well, that's their 10 demands in order for them to that's their 10 demands in order to basically pass DHS funding. So, yeah. Anyway. Before I move on to the next topic, let me tell you about my favorite elixir that I drink every single morning out of my 16-ounce cup. It is called coffee. And if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit has arrived, but there's a limited number of units available. In each unit, you're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and you'll be receiving the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin-free, and mold-free. Plus, you're also receiving a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother that is strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. You'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just $99. This is for the ones that have been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and have been wondering if it's actually worth it. Well, spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com. That's 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they disappear. That's 1775coffee.com/ which is your question mark key, studio. And grab your starter kit before they are gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit today. Well, one of the reasons why the Democrats are really pushing against the SAVE Act and pushing against all of these reforms that the Republicans want is because they're trying to stave off losing not only in the near future, but also in the further future. See, there's been some analyses that have been happening with regards to the 2030 census and apportionment. And remember, apportionment is the methodology by which states receive not only funding, but also determine how many House seats they actually have. And over course of time, obviously, and with population, okay, with population, you have more, higher population state is going to get more seats in the House of Representatives. Senators don't work that way. Senators, it's 100. You have 50 states. You have 2 senators per. That's 100 seats. But the 435, which is the limit in the House of Representatives, is broken up based on population. And so one of the biggest problems that the Democrats are going to have here is that their policies suck. And places like New York and California and Illinois and some of these other places that are putting in policies like, oh, I don't know, the billionaire wealth tax in California, or Washington is looking at right now a millionaire wealth tax. If I didn't love this state in terms of regionally, I would probably move. Anyway, the 2030 apportionment is looking like it's coming up to be a positive for Republicans more than Democrats. Now, they're projecting all of these. They're projecting this stuff. And well, the projection that they have is that recent projections are showing that Texas is probably going to gain something like 4 seats. Florida may gain between 2 and 4. Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina will each gain 1. California, based on people leaving the state, is estimated to lose 4 seats, while both New York and Illinois might lose 1 or 2. Now, these projected seat changes will also affect the Electoral College, because the other part of apportionment is how many votes the Electoral College has in any given state. See, this is where people have this strange idea that we should definitely do the popular vote versus the Electoral College. Now, you'll seem to recall, if you're smart, which I know my Whiskey Warrior P1s are, and if you're listening to this program and don't know this, here's a little teaching moment. The Electoral College is made up of the 2 senators plus however many seats you have in the House of Representatives. Now, that comes up in total to what your Electoral College votes are. Now, 90%, in fact, I think it's like 98%, because there's only 2 states in the entire union that actually don't do this, but almost every single state in the union is winner take all, meaning that if the popular vote in that state goes to the Democrat for the presidency, then all the Electoral College votes of that state go to the Democrat. The same, or basically, in terms of, Nebraska and Maine actually do something a little different. They actually split their votes, and depending upon who wins in a certain district in both, they assign their other vote to whoever wins X district in terms of Nebraska. Maine splits it, basically. And so you basically look at Maine and Nebraska don't do winner take all. They do their own little thing. And that's why Nebraska has been sometimes called out as being, very important, because Nebraska, for the Democrats, that's a crucial, or can be a crucial single Electoral College vote that they normally wouldn't get from a red state like Nebraska. Conversely, the same thing up in Maine. Maine is usually a blue state, but that one Electoral College vote that gets tossed around most of the time goes to the opposite party. And so that's why those two are kind of, they're in there, but they only count when things are really, really close. And as of right now, the blue wall that we normally think of, you know, Michigan, Wisconsin, I'm trying to think who the other ones are that they call the blue wall states, which are up in the Northeast. Those ones are starting to break down some too. They're not as solidly a blue wall anymore, as evidenced by the last election where Donald Trump swept all of the swing states. And the swing states themselves are starting to shift and change as well. And we could see in 2030, we could potentially see a shift to where the swing states, there may be one or two known swing states that are no longer one or two known swing states. All of this is happening because of the massive shift in population that everybody's moving from Texas to Florida, moving from New York and California in particular, those two, into Texas and Florida. So all of this is got the Democrats like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs nervous, every single one of them. And now you see why they keep pushing this idea that, hey, we've got to stop voter ID because that's going to take a large portion of their voting base and essentially block them from voting. They're freaking out about this. They're going absolutely crazy about this. So, again, future elections are looking pretty interesting. So the Electoral College is, as I was going, if the Electoral College was to be held and the 2024 electoral vote count was used, the Electoral College change would bring up 10 more votes for Donald Trump had it been in 2024. Okay. Political conditions, of course, could change quite a bit by 2032, and this would lower the bar for what the GOP needs to win, because one of the biggest challenges that they've been talking about is that the Democrats have always been favored in the Electoral College. So in 2024, Republicans needed to win at least 4 of the 7 key swing states to win the presidency, including the tipping point state of Pennsylvania, which kind of goes both ways at times. But under these new projections that are being put out there, Republicans would only have to have Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina and would win. So this is why you see the Democrats pushing back so hard on things like voter ID. Why the Democrats are going to push back so hard on things like, counting illegals in the census. All of these things that the Republicans are attempting to get passed, which, common sense wise are for Americans. But the Democrats are pushing really, really hard to get all of this out. Now, I got to tell you right now, as an American and as a historian and as a strict constitutionalist, I can tell you that I'm a little perturbed, to say the least, by these Democrats who are sitting here trying to stop things like voter ID. See, one thing after this country was founded, and we won our independence, and we got to a point where we created the Constitution of the United States. And this is part of the reason why I am so adamant about the idea that birthright citizenship, meaning that you were just born within the borders, means nothing. That you have to have some sort of a political tie to America in order to be considered a citizen, a natural-born citizen. And ironically, I use that term natural born because when the founders, or the framers, I should say, of the Constitution worked out the idea of this entire republic where we had senators and representatives and president, they used the term natural born for the presidency for a very specific reason. And that is because they did not want any foreign influence in the presidential office, which is why they separated the president and said, No, the president must be what is considered to be a natural born citizen. Now, in order for somebody to be natural born, you need to understand that differentiates people who have been naturalized or born to naturalized parents versus somebody who has been born from parents who are specifically American citizens and were natural, meaning that they were born here. They weren't naturalized citizens. They weren't politically bound or nationally bound, but that they were natural born, meaning that you have zero ties to any other foreign entity. Zero, none, zero, zilch, nil, finito. There is no connection at all within your history for the most part. At least within like a couple of generations. And that's the whole point of natural born versus what they did with senators and congressmen. They just said, yeah, well, they can be foreign born, but they need to be American citizens. That's the difference. And the reason for this is because of the fact that the framers were all very aware of foreign influence. They did not want to have any foreign influence in our politics. So they required certain things, which again goes back to the whole point of the birthright citizenship. You cannot be of a foreign soil brought here and just drop a baby within our borders and that baby automatically becomes an American citizen. That's not the way the framers or the founders or even the writers of the 14th Amendment actually even said. You can you can yell at me all that you want, all right? You can yell at me all you want. You can call me all kinds of names, but I'm just simply stating what is the historical fact of how this is all been worked out. You can look it up in the Federalist Papers. I mean, I'm not a genius. I research, I read, I am able to track all of this stuff down. So none of what I'm telling you is wrong. None of what I'm telling you is out of bounds. This is all based on historical evidence and fact. And the Democrats, they hate that because they know that these kinds of rules and regulations prevent them from staying in power, taking over America, and turning it into a socialist Marxist hellscape, totalitarian hellscape that they are looking for. Believe me, we don't want that. We don't want that at all. I know I don't. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. There are a couple other things that I wanted to get to, but that's okay. We're not going to get there. Anyway, it'll end up on the cutting room floor. Maybe she'll back up tomorrow. I don't know. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumbs sideways across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.